Hello and welcome. This is the perfect place for you if you are somebody who's just starting a jewelry business and wants to know how to reduce a few costs. Firstly, we will talk about the tools that are very important to have in the beginning and the tools that sometimes you buy but never get to use. And this is why I divided my tools into two different categories. The tool I use all the time, like one of the first tools you should buy, I think, it's a saw frame. So this one is used to cut. I'm gonna show you. It did happen once, just a little bit I did this and it was horrible. This is very dangerous. You have to be very careful with this. You can also use things like this. It will help you grasp better things. It will help you not to cut your fingers, things like that. Very useful actually. So this one and this one are also very important. I use normal beeswax. I feel like you can use special wax too, but this works perfectly. I have no problem with it. And I think beeswax is a lot cheaper. Maybe you could use different types of wax too, but beeswax is cheap enough not to make yourself test weird things. So I feel like you could go with it. It's quite good. So here we have, I love this feature of the camera. Here we have the tools that I basically use all the time. These are the soldering tools that are very important. The pin is super important. I use it all the time. A few tweezers for soldering that you use a lot, because obviously whenever you fire something at 700 degrees, you shouldn't touch it afterwards with your bare hands, right? Even though it can happen. For me, it just happened once, but I feel like I would understand even more than once. It can happen, it is normal, but we should use this. And some clasps. I have a really big collection of clasps, but to be honest, I only use these two. And the third hand, which is also super important whenever you're soldering something that is like a bigger piece or something that just needs to fit in a certain way, you do need to use the third hand, and you can use your clasps and just center it like so, and then you can position it however you like. This is why this is called the third hand, because basically this is a way for you to have another hand. And the most important part when it comes to soldering is the soldering board. And I feel like the one I have is perfect. I have been using it for a really long time. I have not tried different types of soldering boards, so I do not know what to tell you. This one is also, I think, one of the cheapest, but it is very good. So another super important tool that I use all the time is the torch, the soldering torch. This one, I almost burned my phone a few times with it, but this one is super important. You can make the fire. Unfortunately, today is too sunny for you to basically see the flame. And this is the other version. I use this more for thermolock. Just be careful to turn it off or else it will not shut. I have been using this for a really long time and it has helped me a lot. In the beginning, I did not have a torch. I had a gas tank and the Brenner, I think it's called, just like the picture. But if you have an outside workshop in the winter, whenever there are very low temperatures, something weird will happen that I do not understand entirely. Basically, the oil will start coming out and the combination between oil and gas will not be perfect. So you will have a chance to, whenever you turn it on, you have more oil than gas, and you know what that means. So in the hopes of me living a long, healthy life, because I do not want to accidentally kill myself, I have decided to go with the torch this time. One that is very easy to handle. It has a very simple flame. You can adjust it to your needs. It works just as good for me as the Brenner did. Maybe it was a lot better, but for me it weighed too much. Truth be told, I only use this one when the pieces are quite small, this one to shape, and for most of the times I use this to shape things because this does not leave prints on the metal. This is what I try to use basically almost all the time. So obviously I also have this that is very helpful. I use it also all the time. I use this all the time to make sure that things are straight. The hammer, the one that I use all the time because it's very good. I also use this for bracelets. If you are into making bracelets, you will need that. And also the super important ones are the small files and the large files that I also use all the time. But apart from this, I also have a few hammers that I never really get to use, like a really big set of holding tweezers that I also never really get to use. As you can see, all of these are new and this is the only one that has been used like once maybe. This for shaping bracelets, which I also only used once. This one I do use sometimes whenever I have to make some for specific things, for smaller ones. I also have a few tweezers to grab, and all of this that I have not been using at all in 1 year because I always change the position of it. Okay, so this is for the first part about the tools. Now, let's talk about the things you will need to build in your workshop that you could do it yourself in a cheaper way. I did not have enough money to buy, for example, a stand for my pliers, which is why I designed one myself from all the things that I had lying around in my workshop. I had a few leftover pieces of plywood that I used. This is something that is very simple to make, but if you do not have any CAD skills whatsoever, follow the link in the description and just use that one as it is. It is not a very complicated process. It is made out of two pieces. So step number one will be to glue the two pieces, the one that has a hole and the one that has no hole. You should glue them together separately. After both of these are very well glued, you should use a wood rod, cut it to the dimension you want. I've made a bigger stand because I have a lot of pliers and I feel like I can always even buy more. So I would advise to do something like this size, more or less, maybe even a little bigger if you want, because you will not have to lift it as I am doing now. I'm just stretching this out. This is the first time I've ever lifted this in its entirety, except for when you do dust your workshop from time to time, so that's when you're gonna pick it up. So it's not heavy, it's not really that heavy. You can do a bigger one and it will be very useful. They are quite expensive too, and you can build something like this yourself. Use the link in the description, find the laser cut them. If you have in your workshop any other material that is cheap to laser cut, because if you have metal, for example, it cannot be laser cut in the same price. So first think about this, think about the cost and the things you have lying around. It just has to be a straight piece of more than 10 millimeters in thickness. If it is like that, you can use it. It doesn't matter if it's transparent, if it's blue or green or whatever, plastic, doesn't really matter. It's just when you buy the glue specifically for the choice you've made of material. Quite important also, what else? Okay. When I bought my B-axe, I did not have the money to buy the stand for the B-axe, and this is why I had a few things lying around. This is what I used because I already had them in my workshop. was not using them. They were just sitting there. It was a pity because I used to do like big pieces of furniture. So I just had laying around a big clasp that is made for big pieces of wood or whatever. When you glue them together so they can be pressed against each other so the glue sticks in the most efficient way possible. This is what I had, but the hole that you see there was not big enough, so I had to firstly make the hole a little bigger. I did not want to make the hole too big. That would permitted me to use a bigger fillet bar, but if I did that, then the chances of it falling down would be high. So I used whatever I could to make it as resistant as possible. This is the choice I've made with the materials I had laying around. You could choose different materials. You could choose different ways to support it. Just think about the fact your challenge on this one is to make it resistant because the motor is quite heavy. This is a very heavy motor, so you have to take this into consideration when you're building it. Make something resistant enough, preferably metal, preferably steel, resistant enough for it not to fall on your head, because we are talking a lot about safety today because this is a workshop and safety is very important, and I feel like this is something I have to stress on this one. So being a jeweler sometimes means you work with very dangerous substances or very dangerous and sharp tools. For this reason, I advise you to always be super careful about this and always protect yourself in a way that makes mobility an option, in a way that helps you not to injure yourself. It is also super important to have a cream close to you and just buy something that is specially made for burns, because chances of you burning yourself are quite big. Sometimes when you work with like really big pieces of metal, I have this scar that is going to maybe last me a lifetime, because sometimes when you work with really big pieces of metal and you've been using your torch now, it has not been used for a really long time, so this metal is not hot. But when you're soldering, this metal will be very hot, especially when you're soldering a big piece of metal, a big piece of silver. The thing is that when you use it for a long period of time, this will get very hot. So whenever you're moving in your workshop, always mind where you're putting this and mind your movements, because if you touch it, it will burn horribly. And probably my scar will just be the reminder that sometimes you have to be super careful about this, because this gets very hot after soldering. So please note, whenever you're using this for a long period of time, put it as far away from you as possible, so that way it will not be in the way whenever you're searching for something, whenever you're doing something else. So this way, if you forget that it's super hot, you will not touch it by accident. Because if you touch it by accident, it will mean a really long summer without being able to probably go to the pool or swimming, because big ass burns should not be, it's complicated. It's super complicated with big ass burns. You cannot shower with them easily. You have to use special bandages that just water gets in there. It's a freaking mess. And it's something that you should do your best to avoid. It is super important to have protection on. I advise you to always have protection on. That's why I have different types of gloves that I bought. It's very difficult to find gloves for women, I know that. The S measure is a measure that basically is always impossible to find in bricolage stores, but you can buy them online. I use some gloves that are specially designed for machine work. They are called diamond gloves, and they help me a lot because they are very resistant, and I advise you to always use them for protection. And also I would advise you never ever 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 do something that is jewelry related without safety goggles on. because your eyes are so precious and you work with so many sharp objects. So try not to be too oblivious about this. Eyes are very important, and trust me, I know, because I also work with visually impaired people, so I know how important it is, and this is why I cannot stress this enough. Never do something without protection. I feel like I'm doing a condom commercial, but we want to make our lives easier, not very, very difficult. You know what I'm saying? So if you really like this job and you want to have it for a really long time, trust me, protection is super important. I am really trying to stress this a lot because it is important. Always protect your eyes, always protect your hands, and also like use equipment that is designed specifically for this. Like, protect basically your body against all the things that you're working with. This is a dangerous job we're doing here. It's very dangerous. We work with fire, we work with very freaking sharp metals, we work with very freaking scary objects. So you always have to be very careful when you put your tools. And having stands for your tools is not something that just looks pretty. We're not doing this because it's pretty, we're doing this because it's practical. They will be at the reach of your hand. You will always know their place and know where to grab them from. So this is an important part, and also that stand will help you not to touch them all the time so you can get hurt by accident. This is also something super important. Safety measures are very important. Whenever we're talking about a workshop, there is no way around this, and I feel like I have seen a lot of jewelers with very nasty hands. It is impossible to have perfect hands when you're a jeweler. It is impossible, that is true. But if you take care of your hands and you use gloves all the time, you put moisturizer in the evening and sleep sometimes with cotton gloves because you have to. When it gets rough and you get too bloody, you will probably have to. So if you do all these things, your hands will be fine. They will be soft on the outside, quite fine on the rest. You will just have 3 fingers that you should never grab your stockings with. In time you will learn this. Never touch things in a store with these 3 fingers. These 3 fingers are the fingers you use to file things, the fingers you use to sometimes grind things, and they also grind. They get grindy and they are like a grinder in themselves. So you should be very careful a lot of times when you're touching things with this. If you are new and you are just starting your jewelry business now, you have just came across this video without knowing how to start your jewelry business the right way, check out this video. Thank you very much for staying with me until the end, and please subscribe if you want to know a few more tricks and tips on how to save a little money when you're starting a jewelry business, and also how to stay safe when you're doing this. Don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to hit the bell icon for notifications, and I will see you in the next one.